Hi, I'm in my bathtub again. If I had a nickel for every time I'd been in my bathtub in a video, I'd have 2 nickels. Not a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. I'm about to move out of the place that I'm living in right now. A lot of the equipment that I normally use for the background / sets for my videos is eventually going to be packed up. Half of it is already packed up. So we're rocking with the phone in the bathtub today. I constantly question what I'm doing with my life. You know, it's really hard to find direction when you've had a plan for your entire life and then all of a sudden, it's gone. The constant anxiety of not knowing what tomorrow is gonna hold for you and not being able to predict all the variables that come with that. Slowly wondering things like, will I amount to anything? Am I talented enough to do the things that I want to do? Am I qualified for a job that I might want? Am I worthy of love? Will I ever find it? Sometimes you just feel so lost in the world and you feel like you don't know what to do. So instead of thinking about my future, I spent 3 weeks ranking every Weezer song. Hi, you may not know me, but my name is BABILA, and welcome to Things I Thought Of, a show where I talk about things that I thought of. If you're new to the channel, please leave a like and subscribe. This video is a labor of love, and truthfully, I worked really hard on it. What's the harm in supporting a little guy, huh? Actually, I'm not a little guy, if it's not obvious from this. Anyone who knows me in real life knows I'm actually very tall. Also, before we get into the meat and potatoes of this, comment your favorite Weezer song down below. Whether it's well known like My Name is Jonas, or more niche like King. Anyway, let's go ahead and just jump into this. Here's a very brief history of the group. Weezer is a California-based rock group with 4 members. The lead singer Rivers Cuomo, drummer Pat Wilson, guitarist Brian Bell, and bassist Matt Sharp. Bassist Mikey Welsh. Bassist Scott Schreiner, who is the current bassist for the band. The group found initial success with the Blue Album in 1994, which had hits like Buddy Holly and Say It Ain't So. They then released Pinkerton in 1996, which preceded a hiatus for the group that lasted until 2001. Since then, the group has released a new project once every 1 to 3 years, with the total being at 15 official albums at the time of this recording. Now that you know who they are, let's talk about how this is going to work. I'd never done a proper review of something like this before, so I decided to start off with something I was familiar with: academia and rubrics. There were 4 things I graded on: lyrics, sonics, how the song sounds and what I thought of the melody, production, mixing, etc. I'll be honest, I'm not an expert when it comes to this category, and honestly, unless the mixing or mastering on the track is so bad that it's doing a detriment, it'll likely receive an average to good score. And lastly, something special. This meaning that when I listen to the song, if it makes me feel some kind of emotion, I'll give it a decent score. I also like to call this the nostalgia curve. Each criteria can score from 0 to 5. I then put all of this in an Excel sheet and had it sort out every single song. I have no idea how foolproof this idea is going to be. I also wanted to see if my preconceived rankings for the albums would match what rankings I would match the final rankings I would get from the data in the Excel sheet. I included the list of my preconceived rankings in the description of the video, but I'm not going to put it up on screen right now so I don't spoil the whole thing. If you really want to see what my preconceived notions are going to be about a lot of the albums on this list, you can give it a check yourself. For the people who don't want to spoil it for themselves, I'm also going to include it at the end of the video. Finally, some ground rules and an outline for the video. I forgot the toilet makes sounds. Man, this Celsius is really Celsiusing right now. My butt is too big. Okay, finally some ground rules / an outline for the video. Rule number 1. Only officially recognized albums are being listened to. This means no Seasons, Death to False Metal, or any standalone singles. Rule number 2. Deluxe versions are not counted for final scores. This means that some songs included in the deluxe version of an album that would either boost or lower the scores are not being included in the final score for the album. The reason why is that it's not something initially intended for the original release, and in some cases, they're just demos that weren't fully produced. To be honest, there were some cases where I really wanted to include things in the final calculations, but I realized that if I was gonna do this, I had to keep it universal all the way through. Rule number 3, if a song is a cover, it receives a 0 in the lyrics category. This means you're going to see a lot of Teal at the bottom of this list. Let me explain why. Essentially, when I was doing this, I can pretty confidently say that the album that I struggled the most to listen to was Teal. It felt like I was trapped. And it's because the album is all covers. A lot of them uninspired. I really couldn't justify giving them a lyrical score when the band didn't write the song and it wasn't intended for the band. For all my data bros out there, no, I did not curve the Teal album in the final rankings. So a little bit of a spoiler, it's going to be pretty low. Okay, outline. I'm doing a classical ranking, but I'm gonna break everything up using a tier system. We'll have every song listed out in their rank order with the full 189 song list split into 3 tiers. Tier 3, it's Weezer and it's Wheezy. Tier 2, You Wanted Arts and Crafts. And Tier 1, the Ooh Wee Ooh tier. In between each of these tiers, I'm gonna do a little bit of an intermission where I talk about trivia, fun facts, and I guess trivia and fun facts are the same thing. In between each tier, I'm gonna talk about some trivia about the band. And in the end, we'll do a big summary of our results. So, without further ado, Tier 3, it's Weezer and it's Wheezy.
Number 188, I Love the USA. Somehow, this ends up being my least favorite Weezer song on what is one of my favorite albums. I understand why it fits into the themes of the album, but I still don't really like this. I actually find this song extremely obnoxious. And it would get like a complete 0 if it weren't for the fact that there's a guitar solo in there that is somewhat redeemable. So it gets a 1. Number 187, Love is the Answer. While I can admire this song for its attempt at something creative, it's lacking in flavor. I think this could have been probably a better song if there was a little bit more of like Weezer's classic flair involved, but this strange marriage between song styles kind of doesn't end up working in the end and gives us something strange. Number 186, Can't Stop Partying. Rivers, no. This song was definitely like a product of the era that it was found in. Everyone in the midst of an economic recession and all people want to do is party. But it still pains me that this song exists. And the fact that the line, it's Weezer and it's Wheezy, is a line that exists. Regardless, it's still an interesting microcosm of this era. So I love to hate this one. Number 185, We Are All on Drugs. What is this, Rivers? What is this song supposed to be? I can confidently say that I actually find this song annoying. Give me some of that stuff. Rivers, where's the flavor? This song kind of just trucks along without having any particular direction that it's going for, and we kind of just end up with this thing that is pretty mediocre. That's only saved by a good guitar solo. Number 184, Run Over by a Truck. I want to give this song a negative score for lyrics, just for the line, speak in Chinese, okudasai means baby would you please. Rivers, that is Japanese. It's very clear that even from songs like this that end up having very silly lyrics, that Rivers does have a propensity for writing melodies and stuff that are really good. I think I could actually end up seeing myself enjoying this if like it was repurposed for something like OK Human. Number 183, Billie Jean off the Teal album. This one is a head scratcher. Number 182, Stand By Me, boring. Number 181, Beach Boys. This, in my opinion, is where this album gets not good. Don't listen to anything Future Me says. I mostly wanted this song to be over. Number 180, Get Me Some. This whole album is an example of sometimes things just don't work together. The song with like less tighter production could actually end up having some merit, especially with the way that it's structured. But in combination with some very clearly underwhelming lyrics, it just ends up being something pretty mediocre. Cool guitar arpeggios in the back though. Number 179, In the Mall. The idea of this song, hanging out in the mall, isn't a bankrupt idea. But the combo between how the song is structured and the way the melody goes doesn't feel like it's working in synergy and just ends up creating this very poor listening experience. Number 178, Happy Together, boring. Number 177, Africa. In reality, this cover isn't anything that's super inventive. They don't do anything super different, but the story that goes behind why this cover exists in the first place is pretty interesting. For those of you who don't know, there was a Twitter account that tweeted every single day asking Weezer to do a cover of Africa by Toto, and eventually they did it, and off of that, they formed an entire album of covers. Number 176, Cold Dark World. I'll be here to sex you. I'm not going to say anything else. Number 175, Mr. Blue Sky. This is one of the few times where I feel like I can confidently say that Rivers' voice doesn't necessarily fit on a track. I love his voice. Truly. It's very odd, but it works. But just not in this instance. Something feels weird here. It's like we've reached the uncanny valley. I do like how there's like a little bit of Weezer in here. Like I said though, only a little bit. It's sad because I actually love this song. So I guess I didn't hate listening to it. Number 174, La Mancha Screwjob. I say this a little bit more later, but this sounds like the kind of song that you hear on the radio but you don't turn your head for. There's a reason why. The only reason why I remember this song exists is because of its title. Number 173, Get Right. Like I just said, this sounds like something that you would hear on the radio but not turn your head for. Number 172, Let It All Hang Out. I understand the sentiment that he was going for here, but the lyrics aren't really doing it any favors. I feel like it's a really big waste of what was a really fun opening guitar lick. Number 171, Feels Like Summer. I don't know what I would have wanted this song to be, but it wasn't this. All in all, I feel like this song and Happy Hour are all this album is really remembered for, which I think is pretty sad. It's especially frustrating when you'll see there are a lot of songs off of this album that are much higher on this list. Number 170, I Don't Want to Let You Go. This is a perfect example of how sonics and overproduction can kill an entire song. This sounds like a Hoobastank song that someone steamed, pressed, and took to the dry cleaner. Number 169, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. I gave some semblance of bonus points here because I felt like the band actually attempted to add their own flair to this. Number 168, Viva La Vida. Like I said before, since this is a cover, it receives a 0 in the lyrics category, but otherwise, still a fun little romp. I'm pretty sure this is a live performance, but it's still some fun for the bonus tracks. Number 167, Everybody Get Dangerous. The chorus to this song hurt me. There's a specific reason why I wasn't looking forward to listening to this album. It's a lot of stuff like this. This energy that they brought, which I'm sure was fun for the band at the time, was so strange. It's like there's a meter between cringe and cool, right? And I feel like Weezer normally teeters like right between those two things. But there are times on this album where they just go full cringe, and it hurts me dearly. All in all, though, I do like the bridge for this song. Number 166, Sweet Dreams Are Made of This. Hey, Rivers' vocal performance is pretty on point. It's actually a little fun. Number 165, I'm Your Daddy. Rivers, I would like to know what was going on in your mind when you wrote the I'm Your Daddy line. I think the cheesiness of this song ends up leaving an actual sour taste in my mouth. It's mostly saved by how the song sounds. Also, I just want to hurt me personally as a line. Number 164, Any Friend of Diane's. Saddening closer for what is a pretty controversial album. There are some parts in here that I like, but overall it's a pretty middling experience. Number 163, The Girl Got Hot. I think this song actually had a lot of potential. If there was a change to the titular lyric and slightly less tight production, I don't particularly hate it, but I feel like everything this song wishes it is, Keep Fishing actually is. Number 162, Freak Me Out. I just don't feel like this song goes anywhere. Someone out there thinks Freak Me Out is one of Weezer's best songs. That person, however, is not me. I do hear the incorporation of harmonica, which, as you will hear later on, is a thing that I am a fan of in Weezer songs. Even production-wise, I do feel like the song goes in like an interesting direction. I just feel like melodically, the song just doesn't really go anywhere. Number 161, Take On Me. This song sounds like a cover, which very obviously, yes, it is, but this is the most cover-sounding cover I've ever heard in my entire life. Number 160, Happy Hour. Meh, It gets docked because this song used to play literally every single day in the coffee shop that I used to work in, and I got very tired of it. Number 159, She Needs Me. Fun, I guess. I think I was just kind of expecting it to go somewhere. I was waiting for it to do something more than it actually did, but it's alright. 158, Blue Dream. Like I just said, it's alright. Fun, I guess, but I was really expecting it to go somewhere that it never did. Number 157, My Best Friend. During my make-believe listening journey, this is the point where we started drifting into cheesy but in a bad way territory. The chorus is saccharine in a way that is almost cavity-inducing. I love the sentiment, Rivers, but maybe we could have gone about this in a different way. Number 156, I Swear It's True. This is kind of the theme of this section of the video, but once again, I was kind of just waiting for this song to go somewhere that it just never did. I'm honestly really disappointed that it couldn't even be saved by a guitar solo. Number 155, Beverly Hills. Okay, listen. This is honestly a perfectly cromulent song, but to me, it represents what this album did within the Weezer mythos. I enjoy literally every album before this one, but this is where things get weird. Number 154, You Cannot See Me at All, Living in LA. I want to give this song a higher score in the production category, but just like what you'll see later on with the song High as a Kite, it suffers from an overproduction issue. It ends up making things sound overly poppy. The filter decision for Rivers during the verses I think is pretty nice, but I feel like it ends up getting in its own way during the choruses. Number 153, My Eveline. What an interesting niche track. I feel like the barbershop quartet type vibe they were going for was cool, but it's not necessarily being backed up by good enough vocals for it to really give off what I think they were going for. All in all, interesting B-side. Number 152, Paranoid. Very pleasantly surprised. Brian puts together a pretty nice vocal performance here. It honestly makes me wish that he was utilized a little bit more. It sounds pretty great. Number 151, The Prince Who Wanted Everything. Bonus points for the instrumentation on this one, but like a lot of the songs on this portion of the list, this song just does not really go anywhere. There's no build up to anything. There's no really nice bridge that you feel like you're actually waiting for. Just a lot of meh. Cool little commentary that Rivers is attempting to make, but it gets brought down by a melody that doesn't even really try to say anything. Number 150. I feel like for the first time in the Blue era, the production is working against itself. The balancing of the vocals is doing the track a disservice, but a little bit of math rock never hurt anybody, so yeah, it's alright. Number 149, Pardon Me. Overall, very middling lyrics, but I do have to give props to what the general message of this song is. It's honestly pretty sad because whatever message was trying to be sent by this song is hidden behind a lot of mediocre things. Mediocre lyrics, mediocre production value, and a mediocre melody. So, number 148, Zombie Bastards. This song suffers from Pacific Daydream syndrome. There are some moments on this song that I really like the chill verses and the much louder chorus. But unfortunately, it ends up doing this very strangely poppy thing during its chorus, and I feel like that ends up taking away from what is, I guess, like a pretty fun verse. It's pretty sad because I do actually like this song. Number 147, California Snow. I know that the placing of this song is going to be controversial. This is the epitome of one of the biggest shortcomings for the Black Album. I think this song could have been great if it weren't for the over-reliance on electronic drums. Or, which is kind of just a problem on Black in general, I feel like because everything is so tight production-wise, it doesn't make anything feel natural. And it really sucks because the saw that they have going on in the background of this song is fantastic. I feel like it's a good match for whatever this album was trying to go for initially, before it got marred by whatever the middle of this album is. Number 146. All the Good Ones. Another alright one. I just think I wanted a little bit more to happen because it feels very formulaic. I feel like the line delivery on the verses is interesting though. I don't hate it. Number 143, Automatic. Not a bad vocal performance from our boy Patrick Wilson. Like, really, I think he puts together a better product on this song than he does on Thought I Knew. There are cool sounds that are going on in this song, but I feel like there's no direction with the melody and the verses. In a lot of these kinds of songs, I just hope and pray that the bridge is the thing that ends up saving it, but not this time. Number 144, Waiting on You. Someone please get this man to touch some grass and get some therapy. It's really interesting to listen to the lyrics of this song. It's really interesting to listen to the message and lyrics behind this song, because growing up, a lot of men are conditioned to actually think this way. That's why I can't completely fault him for his writing on this album, because a lot of men grow up feeling this way. At least now in retrospect, we're able to see what problems may be coming from it or something. Number 143, Heart Songs. Oof. Okay, this song definitely should be ranked lower than this, but it does get a boost because of nostalgia. Lyrically and melodically, the song isn't really even doing anything that special. It's just Rivers listing out the people that inspired him to make music. But it's his vocal delivery on the bridge that makes this song a little difficult to listen to. Especially on the part where he's talking about the Nirvana album. Had a baby on it. It hurts me. Number 142, Hold Me. This is another track off of Make Believe that kind of sounds like it could have been on Green. It's a slight evolution, but not as far as Maladroit went. It could have been better, honestly, if the production let it have at least like a little bit of character, but it doesn't, so. Number 142, You Won't Get With Me Tonight. It's alright. There are some fun parts to it, and it's cool to see a song that was originally meant for Songs from the Black Hole. Number 140, I'm Just Being Honest. Overproduction again, and I don't understand how a song can simultaneously feel full and empty at the same time. This song feels nostalgic. It's reminiscent of the type of music that was popular in 2005, but this song came out in 2019, and it's stuck behind this like weirdly shiny lacquer production-wise. Number 139, Tripping Down the Freeway. Guys, listen to me. I really like this song. I have to be honest. Yeah, the lyrics sometimes are bad, verging on really cringy. But man, it's such an earworm. I can't stop listening to this. Number 128, Piece of Cake. The line, hop on this trash, made me dock it points lyrically. But I can't lie, I love the melody that's in the verses so much. Like, so much. Probably more than I should. It feels like everything else is dragging this song back from its full potential, but I can't deny it that fact. Number 137, Precious Metal Girl. Saccharine closer to what was honestly a pretty fun album. I think it was appropriate to end this album this way. And fun fact, this is one of very few Weezer songs that is exclusively vocals and acoustic guitar. Number 136, Glorious Day. I think the chorus of this song is like low-key beautiful. Glorious children on my mind, glorious wastings of my time, glorious plans we make up, forcing things in line. Otherwise, Number 135, The Prettiest Girl in the Whole Wide World. This song and No One Else from Blue almost feel like cousins. Why is this here? Why is this on this album? This doesn't make any sense. Simple by the numbers, but all in all, a pretty fun tune that found its way onto the B-side of this album. Number 124, The Other Way. An otherwise middling song, I do have to admire this one for the message that it's trying to say. It's a pretty candid look into Rivers struggling to be able to reach out to Elliott Smith's wife after he passed away. Number 133, Back to the Shack. Admittedly, I love this album and I can admire its production, etc., etc., etc. However, I do think that the chorus of the song is annoying, but the message is clear, and I do admire the fact that the production allows the drums to breathe. Number 132, The Damage in Your Heart. There's not a whole lot special going on in this song, but admittedly there is a lot of charm in the melody to the verses and the message. Honestly, just all in all, pretty inoffensive, and you do get bonus points for being able to make me bob my head while I was listening to it. The DNA of this song can be seen in the White Album later on. I don't really know what exactly is going on here, but there's something meritable in here. Number 131, Space Rock. Though it's a nice commentary on the way that Rivers and his fans interact with each other, I left this song feeling like it was missing something. Number 131, High as a Kite. See, this song just does not feel like it belongs here. I have a lot of gripes with the Black Album and the way that it's organized, but I feel like with some tweaks, High as a Kite could have easily been something off of OK Human. Especially in the sonics of Rivers' voice and the verses, I feel like it actually sounds really good. Number 129, Peace. The descending guitar lick in the song is actually pretty fun, and I'm actually secretly in love with the post-chorus on. In my listening journey, I was surprised to be able to have made it this far into the album without completely hating it. It's mostly inoffensive. Number 128, Miss Sweeney. It was interesting. If I was able to tweak the vocal delivery on this one, I think I would actually really like it, especially because of its unique nature within the Weezer discography. I'm just a little off-put by the way that he chose to deliver some of these lines. I do get what he was going for, though. Number 127, No Scrubs. Okay, listen. It has its own character, and I unironically really love this cover. I listened to it a lot when I first heard it. There's a very strange synergy between Rivers' voice and this song. If anyone I know super well is watching this cover is the reason why I sing this song at karaoke. Number 126, Hero. It's nice to see Weezer return to big guitars unapologetically. This track is only alright though. The bridge rocks though, and I wish it was incorporated more throughout the song. Number 125, Lonely Girl. Not bad. I don't necessarily feel any negative feelings towards the song at all. I don't necessarily feel anything when I listen to this song, but it's perfectly serviceable.
Hello, welcome to intermission number 1, the history of the Black Room. This feels so strange. I'm outside. One of the most interesting pieces of information about the Weezer mythos is the journey that the band has taken throughout different albums, specifically the first 3. Blue, Pinkerton, and Green. I could easily spin a narrative through more albums than just these first 3, but the story of the band's trajectory can be attributed to this point right here. Fans of the band will know that the 2 most important albums in the band's discography are Blue and Pinkerton. The debate on which album is actually better has gone on for a really long time, but upon initial release, it wasn't really up for debate. The narrative was, Blue is better than Pinkerton. Actually, Pinkerton is trash. Media reception to the band's second album was not good by any means. The album itself is a very raw and candid view into the mind of a young adolescent man who had a lot to talk about in regards to sex, love, and a lot of other things that young boys think about. In comparison to the overall inoffensive nature of Blue, this was pretty jarring for most people, and it led to the critical reception of the album being not great. Rivers did not take this well, which I can understand. When you create something and you share it with the public, there's a level of vulnerability that comes with it, especially in the case of Pinkerton where things were so raw. This is where we get the introduction of the Black Room. What is the Black Room, you ask? Well, after the departure of the original bassist Matt Sharp and a subsequent hiatus after Pinkerton's release, Rivers fell into a very deep depression. This is most likely, if not completely confirmed, due to Pinkerton's initial poor reception. It's crazy in concept too, because imagine showing such a vulnerable part of yourself and getting such a stark negative reaction to it. In this post-Pinkerton, pre-Green era, while the band was on hiatus, Rivers lived in a house under a highway in LA, where he painted all the walls black and covered all the windows with fiberglass. Being deep in his depression, it took him a really long time to be able to exit this era of his life. However, once he was able to get out of it, it really wasn't common to see this level of vulnerability coming from him, especially in the Green era. Green went full mainstream appeal at a saccharine 10. It's almost as if Rivers not only wanted to overcorrect, but almost give a metaphorical middle finger to the critics that didn't like Pinkerton. Personally, I love Green, but I can understand the sentiment that... What am I trying to say? I love Green, but this is a sentiment that I can understand. A lot of times the lyrics leave you with nothing other than window dressing for the Sonics, which is fine. I am sonically minded. It really does help that the album sounds great. But yeah, that's essentially how we got the first 3 albums. Let's move on to the next tier.
Tier 2, You Wanted Arts and Crafts.
Number 124, Simple Pages. At times, I feel like this song is the thesis for what this album is. It's almost like Rivers is talking directly to the audience saying, hey, please like what we're making. Please. For what is overall just a very safe sounding album. Number 123, El Scorcho. I know that this ranking is going to be controversial, but to me, I find everything other than the chorus of the song to be A little grating. Also, the opening line to this song really left a sour taste in my mouth. I just can't justify putting it any higher than this. Sorry. At least it sounds like they're having fun. Number 122. Thank God for Girls. This song definitely has its merits. As a whole, this album is really well put together, and I can admire what they were trying to go for. It's structured in a really cool way, and you have parts where Rivers is just railing out a whole bunch of lines really, really fast. And honestly, the whole part about God creating Eve from Adam is a really cool addition to the song. However, this is just not something that I have in my rotation super often. Regardless, I very clearly do admire this song to some extent, but this is my list. Number 121, Take Control. Putting big guitars on display, an awesome guitar solo, good production that works synergistically, I can't be mad at that. Number 120, Hash Pipe. I don't sing the praises for this song that everyone else does, and I feel like it does make sense that it gets elevated because a lot of the songs on Green are very like formulaic, even though a lot of them do sound good. The production direction that they took for this song too, I feel like was perfect for what they were going for. Things are a whole lot heavier than they are for the whole rest of the album. Number 119, Only in Dreams. Creative use of changing the key during the middle of the chorus. It makes the song feel a little bit more like a journey, which helps because of this song's almost 8-minute runtime. It's a fun send-off for an album that's pretty great. Number 118, In the Garage. Though I think that the lyrics of this song make me want to crumple a little bit inside, I can't deny that it accurately exemplifies what Rivers was going for. This outcast feeling where the only place where you're allowed to be yourself is in private, a nerd whose tendencies only belong in the garage. I get it. Number 117, Weekend Woman. Totally inoffensive song about falling in love with a girl at church. The bridge on this is also very, very charming. It's sweet, plus the layering that's at the end is a pretty classic Weezer move. I think it comes out fantastic. Number 116, Crab. Crab at the booty, they ain't gonna do no good. I had to come back to this song and re-rank it because of how often I found myself singing it. Man, did it get stuck in my head. Number 115, Don't Let Go. Perfectly cromulent way for the band to come back, especially after how things went after Pinkerton. Perfect opener, extremely fun, inoffensive tune. Number 114, The Underdogs. The Outcast anthem. Although the lyrics here aren't revolutionary, I can't deny that I love this song. Number 113, Slob. A song about being a shut-in. Relatable. Number 112, Go Away. I wish there were more collaborations with women in the Weezer discography because this combination is really great. Also, unlike a lot of fans, I love this combination. Completely inoffensive. Good, actually. Number 111, All My Friends Are Insects. This song has no right being this charming. I had so much fun listening to this song that was written for Yo Gabba Gabba. I wanted to rank this song so much higher, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. Also, if you want something simultaneously scary and trippy, do yourself a favor and look up the Yo Gabba Gabba clip for this song. Rivers looks like he's hyped up on coke the entire time. Number 110, Getting Up and Leaving. Another example of Rivers just wanting to return to a simple life. I really do like the way that things are balanced on this one. I'll have to come back to this and study it further. The mixing of Rivers' vocals is really, really nice. Number 109, Too Many Thoughts in My Head. Funnily enough, despite the fact that I don't think that highly of this song, judging by the way that it's ranked on this list, I do believe that this is closer to what this album should have been. This seems like a song that would have been on the same album as Can't Knock the Hustle, which it is. Like the third verse of this, bruh, bring that back. Number 108, Sweet Mary. I want you to take a second to read the lyrics of the first verse of this song and tell me that it's not charming. A wonderful song about the femme fatale. Number 107, Troublemaker. This song is undeniably fun, it just makes me cringe a little bit. I have to admit, the line, "You wanted arts and crafts, how's this for arts and crafts?" is one of my favorite lines, even though it's very, very, very silly. I don't really know what it is about it. It doesn't even really make that much sense, but you do get the energy that Rivers was going for when he wrote it. Number 106, Put Me Back Together. One of the diamonds in the rough on what is an overall pretty deplorable album. I genuinely love this song. I'm a mess since you left. You can use this fool, I'm a useless tool. The vibe of this could have easily been off of Hurley if the production wasn't so sparkly. Number 105, You Gave Your Love to Me Softly. I forgot that this song existed. and I really enjoyed it on re-listen. There's so much merit in a song that doesn't overstay its welcome. Number 104, Runaway. It's alright, and I think somewhere else along this list I say something like this. It's really Rivers' vocal performance that carries this song. So much character. Number 103, Unspoken. The direction that they decided to take this song in is pretty interesting, leaving things really stripped down at the beginning and then building up to like this big chorus of guitars and strings towards the end of the song makes for a pretty fun journey. I think the thing that really holds this song back though is the fact that the lyrics and the melody aren't anything that special. All in all though, still a fun tune. Number 102, Love Explosion. Good little tune about escaping the things going on around you and sneaking off to give Papa Rivers a little kiss. Number 101, Tired of Sex. An interesting foray into the fact that constant lovemaking often ends up leaving you feeling empty inside. Rivers wrote this song during his time at Harvard where he took an oath of celibacy, all because of this lack of fulfillment that he felt from his constant hookups. Number 100, King. A unique track, but I feel like one that was fitting for this album. It makes me wish it was an actual inclusion for the original release. I honestly think it would have been a better fit than a few of the ones that actually ended up making it. And this is definitely a better performance than what we heard on Thought I Knew. Scott ate this up. Number 99, Dreamin'. There's green DNA in here, but they're just like a little less afraid to color outside the lines. A nice track actually. The okayness with experimenting is what I think is one of this album's biggest strengths. Like the amount of changes that you experience throughout this entire track is pretty great. Almost feels like what Daydreaming feels like. But there's only one other song that does the amount of changes that this song does better than it does on this album. Number 98, Mexican Fender. Pacific Daydream isn't bad, y'all are just mean. This song is fun when you don't have someone in your ear telling you how bad this album is. The guitar lick that this whole song is based around is sick, and I would have much rather had this song be the big hit from this album rather than Feels Like Summer or Happy Hour. Honestly, the squeaky clean production actually works in this song's favor. Number 97, Perfect Situation. I do not remember liking this song this much when I first listened to this album. What is this? The instrumentation is fun, piano chugging along in the background, and this melodic direction is fantastic. This song sounds like something that belonged in between Green and Maladroit. How did you end up here? Number 96, The World Has Turned and Left Me Here. Well structured, especially in the end whenever they start layering the vocals, which is something that you see throughout a lot of Weezer songs after this. Number 95, Tragic Girl. The hook of this song is just so clearly tinged with sadness, like not just lyrically but also sonically. It's really interesting to see how much continuity that all of these songs had together for obvious reasons. It all has to do with the scrapped album. You can definitely hear the musical / opera DNA in here. Number 94, Get You. There's so much character and drive in these older songs. I feel like these days it feels like Rivers has found his groove and has gotten kind of stuck in it. Number 93, Trainwrecks. A decent track about outcasts being able to find each other in a world that they feel rejected by. Serviceable. Number 92, Dope Nose. Boo, poorly aged homophobic slur. Yay, cool sounding tune. Number 91, Byzantine. I always think of this song as kind of a sequel to Island in the Sun. Although the lyrics aren't revolutionary, it's still something that ends up being a fun tune. Once again, I feel like the strength of production for this entire album comes in the verses. Number 90, Knockdown Dragout. I can't help but smile when listening to this one. I feel like they could have leaned a little bit more into the rough sound, but I kind of feel like that's just the nature of this album as a whole. Number 89, Everything Happens for a Reason. A cool transition into the next song. Honestly, I don't really know why I included it on the list. Number 88, The Future Scope Trilogy. A work of art. Because it doesn't have anything holding itself back. And because only one of its songs actually holds any lyrics, I'm giving it a perfect score in every category except for lyrics. I really wish they tried something like this again. This is beautiful, cool, and everything in between. Number 87, Slave. The guitar solo in this is beautiful. I don't know why I didn't love this the first time I listened to the song. Number 86, Can't Knock the Hustle. I'm not gonna lie, I really had fun with this song when it came out as a single. It's just a fun new direction for the band. I just wish the whole album committed to something like this. You can't disagree with the talk about hustle culture and wage work. Just let yourself enjoy this song. The bass line is infectious. Number 85, Represent. Nothing revolutionary, at least lyrically. but the song sounds like an anime opening, so I decided to put it this high on the list. Number 84, Suzanne. Wow, the time changes on this tune are pretty cool. I wish it was on Spotify because I definitely would listen to the song way more often. Also, Rivers just very clearly needs somebody to hold him. Number 83, Devotion. Another bonus track that I don't really remember listening to the first time, but I did really enjoy it, and I actually have the melody stuck in my head right now. I caught me being scared on camera. That's so bad. I'm still shook. Number 82, La Brea Tar Pits. This feels like a Beatles-esque outro, which is appropriate for an album which had portions of it recorded at Abbey Road. Number 81, Paperface. I can't get over how cool and different this track is in comparison to the other ones on Blue. I get why it wasn't included in the final product, but this is an amazing bonus track. I really enjoyed the Paperface metaphor and the message it's trying to get across. Number 80, Fall Together. I love how the chorus balances out the chunky nature of this tune. I also like the way that the chorus kind of feels like it ends a little bit early. I don't really have much else to say. Number 79, The End of the Game. This one just makes me smile a lot. It really feels like we got a classic in the 2020s. It's like classic in the best way possible. It's like green Maladroit era, but with like more clarity. It sounds like kind of a modern take on it, which, I mean, I guess it is. That's kind of what this whole album is. Also, knowing that this album was made specifically for the Hella Mega Tour makes so much sense. Hearing a song like this in the midst of Green Day and Fall Out Boy just feels extremely appropriate. Number 78, Numbers. Well composed, and the way that Rivers comes in on the chorus is actually something really, really beautiful. While the delivery on some of the lines is interesting, all in all, this is an immaculate song. Number 77, Sheila Can Do It. The chorus of the song is fun. I found myself being very pleasantly surprised with this album in general. The sonics are all just enjoyable. Though it's short, this song has such a great guitar solo. Knowing the story behind this song and the loss of the two main leaders of Weezer's fan club back in the 90s gives it a bonus. Lyrically, it's nothing special, but the inclusion of the "Hear You Me" line is pretty special. On the Weezer forums back in the 90s, one of the most common phrases that people would say when they're starting a sentence would be "Hear You Me." Number 75, Thought I Knew. I love this song, but personally I feel like the direction that they took for it specifically on this album kind of does the song a disservice. It needed more room to be expressive and not be so tight. Number 74, Screens. From start to finish, this is a great musical performance. The sonics overall are definitely what makes this album so strong. Also, with this album being a product of quarantine, if I were to show someone a song to completely exemplify that, it would be Screens. Number 73, Across the Sea. The DNA of this song is felt in so many Weezer songs after it. This is what I regard as the precursor for Friend of a Friend, with the piano intro being something that's related to the rest of the song. It's just a shame that the themes that are going on in here bring it so much lower than I feel like it should be on this list. Number 72, Pork and Beans. Now, I can't deny that this is a good song. It's honestly just like the sonic equivalent of giving the middle finger to society. But to be honest, I've never been that big of a fan of it, but I had to give it credit where credit is due. Also, the way that the background vocals of this song kind of just pierce through everything is how I feel when I eat candy. I don't know if that makes any sense, but yeah, just wrestle with that for a little bit. Number 71, Lullaby for Wayne. I wish the different bridges that came from the Kitchen Tape Blue era stuck around for a little bit longer. They really had fun with just like stripping things down. Admittedly, a strange topic for a song in my opinion, this song definitely makes some of the coolest production decisions in this era. Number 70, Time Flies. A pretty good end for what is a good album. Definitely above average, and there's nothing in here that I would say is bad. I wish there was a little bit more variation in the melody, but all in all, a good experience. Number 69, Nice. Fake Smiles and Nervous Laughter. This is a sweet secondary outro for the deluxe version of the White Album. It really captures the whole "I'm an awkward person attempting to shoot my shot" energy, but it brings in a new perspective of wanting something more real as a response rather than something fake and plastic. To Rivers, it's endearing. Number 68, Falling For You. I find the vocal performance on this track to be really interesting, and the key change down for the chorus is an obvious indication that Rivers is using that degree. Number 67, The Angel and the One. Very pleasantly surprised with this one on re-listen. It's heart something. I don't know if I would call it heartwarming, but it's making my heart feel something. I like this one. Mitski Miyawaki is a singer-songwriter that hails from the Mie Prefecture of Japan. She's a pretty popular indie artist putting out grungy, vulnerable, emotional music. In 2019, I had the opportunity to sit in on her Be the Cowboy tour. And imagine my surprise when I see her walk on stage donning a very particular accessory. The aesthetics of this entire tour had everything black and white, and the only set piece that they had on stage was a table. Honestly, it's really interesting to see Mitski's avant-garde style of presentation. You can get really creative with just a table. You'd be surprised. Honestly, I'd probably love to do something like this for Mitski in the future, but back to the subject at hand. I'm surprised I have been unbothered this entire time. At this point in the video, we probably have talked about the song Back to the Shack from Yubei, though I'm clearly not the biggest fan of that song personally. It does have an important place within the Weezer mythos. At the time, the band was having a little bit of a renaissance. With Hurley being a pretty good album and Yubei going back to the band's roots, that's what this entire song is about. In the chorus of the song, Rivers refers to the strap with the lightning strap. One of the most difficult pieces of information to wrestle with, especially in this context, is some of the sensibilities that Rivers revealed in the Pinkerton album. Sometimes when referring to the band as a whole, I tend to get pretty mixed responses. A lot of times it's people laughing at me, which I get. The band is sometimes intentionally very cheesy and sarcastic in its lyrics, and sometimes unintentionally really cringy. But also, Pinkerton's raw look into the mind of a damaged man has some moments that don't go over well. I talk about it a few times across this video. One of the things that comes up often in particular is Rivers' fetishization of Asian women in songs like El Scorcho and Across the Sea. Talking about the effects of fetishization is a topic a host to its own, and maybe at some point I'll make a video about it for myself. But for now, I'm gonna link a video above that you can check out on your own. In short, fetishization is bad because of the objectification of your subject. This can have negative effects on whatever group this individual is hailing from. Tie it together, this can have negative effects on individuals like Miss Miyawaki. Mitski details her experience as an Asian woman across a lot of her different songs. For example, Your Best American Girl. But an interesting crossroads occurred during her Be the Cowboy tour. I looked up to see Mitski wearing the exact same guitar strap. The thing is, I've searched extensively to be able to find pictures of this to prove that it's a real thing, and for some reason I can't seem to find it, but I know it happened. Like, I have so many questions. Like, was she attempting to make a statement when she wore it? Is she a fan of the band? These are questions that the internet can only minorly answer. The most cross commentary I can even find between Mitski and Weezer is twofold. First, in 2017, she did a review of their album Pacific Daydream, which obviously doesn't comment on literally any of this, but it seems like from her review, she is a fan of the band. And secondly, a lot of people like to joke that Mitski is just Weezer, but for women. Anyway, if you have any thoughts, pictures, or information that is related to this phenomenon, please comment down below. This is such a small piece of information that I'm too tall to get over and too small to get under. Speaking of, let's move on to the final tier.
Tier 1, the Ooh tier.
Number 66, Memories. What an amazing opener for the album. It's like super reassuring that after an album that is just like universally hated, that at least the band was going in a good direction sonically. Fun fact, once you get to the chorus where they're like, memories make me want to go back, that whole part is actually sung by the members of Jackass. Pretty cool, fun tidbit. Number 65, Death and Destruction. This is definitely one of the gems that I've found from recent listen. Obviously, I've like always been a fan of Maladroit, but you know, my taste has kind of changed over the years. This is definitely one that I enjoyed on re-listen. It's beautiful, well written, the lyrics are cohesive, and it's kind of reminiscent of a Radiohead song. Number 64, Possibilities. I could just like viscerally feel how my body was getting worked up listening to this one. The melody has this way of just like driving things forward the whole time. It's pretty cool, and all the O's kind of like lead up to the final O that happens at the end. Super hype. Possibilities. Good track. Number 63, Playing My Piano. There are some really special things going on in this track, especially in like the structure of how things are built. You can very clearly see what the band was going for whenever they wrote this. Honestly, as you can see score-wise, there's only one thing that's holding the song back, and it's the lyrics. I'm sorry, but the line, Kim Jong-un could blow up my city, I'd never know. Like, what's going on? Also, I am very clearly wearing different clothes because the only opportunity that I get to be able to record this video is past midnight in my parents' house. And I got really tired the last time I was recording. It was like 3 in the morning. Number 62, December. This song is what Rivers was going for in the Love is the Answer song, but doing it the right way. It's pretty cheesy, but like that's not out of character for a Weezer song. It's mostly endearing. I love this one. Number 61, Photograph. You see that this song is this high on the list, and I am sure that many people would disagree with it, but I can't lie, it's the nostalgia. It's formulaic in its structure, it's formulaic in its lyrics, it's super, super safe, but I can't help but say that I love this one. Number 60, This Is Such a Pity. A good example of trying something different and it working very well. Number 59, All My Favorite Songs. A good marriage of the classic Weezer DNA with the Baroque style that this entire album is going for. A perfect way to open an album that's going in a completely different direction than pretty much anything else that the band has ever done. Also, that opening lick is very iconically Weezer. Starting off the song with some kind of reduced version of what the main lick for the song is, goes all the way back to Across the Sea. Great single for an album that kind of came out of nowhere. Number 58, Brave New World. This is another example of Rivers kind of just like giving the story of like the trajectory of the band. Honestly, it'd be really cool if someone took all of these kinds of songs and put them in a playlist so we could do it all in chronological order. All that being said, definitely a really fun romp. I like this one. Number 57, Cleopatra. As I previously stated, you know how I feel about Weezer and harmonica. Although I'm not the biggest fan of this random like counting breakdown they do towards the end of the song, I think everything else about it is fantastic. It's way outshined by the parts that are good. From the way that Rivers squeezes in an extra beat for the chorus just to be able to fit the whole line in, or from the amazing guitar solo that's on this one. Great track. Number 56, Where's My Sex? Listen, I'm just going to read you directly what I wrote for this because this is the journey of like how I was feeling throughout listening to the whole thing. I say, oof, this song is strange. I don't mind a weird track, don't get me wrong, but the fact that sex was the focal point of the song, I think made it way weirder. It sucks because it's actually a great song. Everything else is good. Rivers' vocal delivery on this whole album has so much character and it really comes out here. Then, correction, this song is a banger, and here's why. The sex thing is weird, yes, but it's said jokingly, especially if you go through the lyrics and replace every sex with the word socks. It's pretty clever. Number 55, Ain't Got Nobody. What a fantastic opener. If you go through the lore of this album and like get a better understanding of it, this is a fantastic way for you to be able to start everything. If you're curious about it, you should watch Mark But Evil's videos. Super cool. Number 54, Island in the Sun. Hip, hip. Simple, but effective. There's a reason why this song caught on. Also, I like to think of this song as the prequel to Byzantine. Number 53, Undone, the Sweater Song. Now, this is another one where I feel like people are going to see it and they're going to be like, BABILA, why is this so low on the list? Trust me, I initially thought that I would rank this song higher, but then I just kind of sat on the lyrics to like the verses, and Rivers really wrote out, I'm me, me be, goddamn, I am. Rivers, what does that mean? Number 52, Smile. Once again, I'm sorry, it's the nostalgia speaking, but the post-chorus of this song makes me want to melt. I can't be gone, darling, for very long. So good. Number 51, Beginning of the End. This one tells the story about how the band is going to keep on hanging on, despite what the world may say it should do. Even if their guitars are going to be hung up in a pawn shop one day, they're still going to keep on keeping on. This is just such a good addition. Number 50, One More Hit. A sympathetic look into drug addiction. I'm honestly pretty embarrassed on how much I enjoyed this one. Somehow, in some universe, Rivers saying, please daddy, doesn't make this song cringy. I don't know how we let him get away with this. At least on the sonic level, I feel like this song fires on all cylinders. It might even be underranked in the Sonics category. Definitely one that I will be reincorporating upon re-listen. Number 49, Smart Girls. Is that Barry sax that I hear in the background? When you hear it, you won't be able to unhear it. Number 48, Grapes of Wrath. The mundane activity of just listening to audiobooks has become this beautiful Baroque sounding thing. It's like making something that sounds so simple into something that's so like elegant and well put together. That is a commentary on how it's difficult to care about anything at all. It all ties together to make this funky ballad about Jeff Bezos' audiobook company. Number 47, QB Blitz. This intercom is broken into pieces. I've gotta call my QB Blitz, beep Blitz. Also the line, people don't bring me joy. I think you get the point. I'm on an epic quest, pursuit of happiness. You know what? This is my list and I can rank the song as high as I want to. So it's gonna be right here. Number 46, LA Girls. The background of the song is a little strange. Apparently Rivers was on Tinder trying to experience some new experiences. Then he ended up writing a song about it. As I mentioned before, this is also a married man. Strange methods, but otherwise, thumbs up from me. Number 45, California Kids. An amazing song thematically and literally. This is Rivers essentially giving an open love letter to the state of California, the place that raised him. All on an album that kind of helped save the band's reputation. Number 44, I Want You To. The squeaky clean nature of the production on this song actually ends up fitting it pretty well. It's a clean by the numbers song with a pretty tight bridge, and I can't deny that I love it, even though it's on an album that is very widely hated. Number 43, I've Had It Up to Here. I hear you, Rivers. I hear your struggle. I hear your message, but it's hard to hear over the fact that this song is freaking amazing. Another great little breakdown for the chorus too. Number 42, No One Else. Even though the message of this song is a little problematic, I do understand the sentiment, especially in the position that Rivers was in at the time. You know, being an adolescent boy, all you want is to be able to have the full attention of the person that you love. So I kind of get it. I actively smiled when I listened to this one. Number 41, I Want to Be Something. Leaving this song sounding so raw was definitely the right decision. And at this point, we hadn't heard something like this since Pinkerton. It's beautiful, honestly. Number 40, Holiday. Oh my goodness, the melody for the verses of this song, infectious. The way they like roll forward with like the time signature, that da 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 da. It's so nice. Strangely, the guitar parts and stuff kind of reminded me of Burnt Jam. This song also has one of the more unique bridges on this album. Definitely don't remember enjoying this song this much whenever I listened to this album for the first time, but definitely in the rotation now. Number 39, Summer Lane and Drunk Dory. If you don't know the story behind this one, essentially Rivers overheard two people talking about their wives and how over the summer they have like these alternate personas of themselves, which are Summer Lane and Drunk Dory. This is another example of Rivers' propensity to write really, really good bridges, because the bridge to this song is angelic, which feels strange to be saying about a Weezer song, but it's almost like you're hearing the gates of heaven open. Number 38, Surf Wax America. Surf Wax gets bonus points because of how much of an earworm the chorus is. I don't know what it is about its repetitive nature, but it just really gets to me. There are some times where I believe that lyrics serve some deeper purpose to the song, right? But there are also times where I feel like lyrics are just the window dressing for the vibe that you're trying to go for. You take your car to work, I'll take my board. Perfect example of that. Number 37, Hang On. The whole solar thing that Rivers has going on during the pre-chorus is really, really cool. I also really love the instrumentation here and on the rest of the album. But specifically here, it makes it feel super at home with the whole solar analogy. I don't know if that makes any sense. Very solid showing from Hurley. Number 36, The Spider. Another example of how I had to just read what I wrote here. Wow. What the fuck is happening at the end of the deluxe version of Red? Because Rivers really started talking about death. I'm reflecting hella right now. Number 35, Pig. To continue, why did I almost cry when I listened to this? I literally started thinking about my place in the world and the concept of death. Very pleasantly surprised upon re-listen. Wow. If it's not obvious, I have certain feelings about this album. Number 34, My Name is Jonas. This song is a work of art. Rivers' voice works masterfully with the production on the piece. Plus, this is one of those examples of how much I really love whenever Weezer incorporates harmonica into their songs. But in general, I feel like this is one of the best executions of it as like a concept, I guess. Number 33, Foolish Father. This is another example of how sometimes Rivers does a really good job of making a verse and a chorus be a musical handshake of each other. This would have been a great way for the album to go out if it weren't for the fact that the Future Scope trilogy exists and the themes just all line up with each other beautifully. Honestly, to me, this and Say It Ain't So are like sisters. Number 32, Wind in Our Sail. An amazing follow-up to California Kids, taking the momentum that it had and further emphasizing it. I'm also a really big fan of the bridge on this song with the whole Sisyphus like pushing the stone up the hill and it rolls back down. It's good stuff. Also, the way that everything is layered on this song just feels really, really nice. Number 31, King of the World. I think that the narrative in this song is so solid. This is Rivers detailing the struggles that his wife went through like in her childhood, and a lot of the lines are based very specifically off of things that have actually happened. Also, side note, I heavily encourage you to go onto Genius for this song and read Kyoko's Genius annotations. It's such a treat. Number 30, Bird with a Broken Wing. This whole extended metaphor thing that Rivers is doing is a good way to describe the journey of the band. Me and my friends, we were killers. Now I'm just a bird with a broken wing with a beautiful song to sing. He's right where he wants to be. Number 29, Keep Fishin'. Wow. Coupled with the fact that this song has a music video that features the Muppets, anyone who knows me personally knows that I have like just an inclination to love anything Muppet related. This is such a fun tune. Personally, I do prefer the version that they re-recorded for like radio play, but even on the album version, from like the chunky guitar parts to the vocals that are in the background that feel like they're being yelled across the room, everything about this song just kind of like fires on all cylinders. We're just having a good time, Number 28, Here Comes the Rain. We're on our way to paradise. Did you hear the news? The universe will give you more of what you pay attention to. Listen to this song after it rains and you will understand my opinions. Low key, in the lyrics section, I feel like it deserves a bump, but we're already recording this, so this is where it is. The line, my umbrella makes me look just like the Morton girl, is like undeniably cheesy, but I find myself smiling literally every time I hear it. Saccharine, delightful, beautiful, beautiful. Number 27, Haunt You Every Day. This is a travesty. And here's why. Because if it weren't for the fact that the production on Make Believe was just so tight all the time, this song would be so much higher ranked. For some reason, the direction that they were going for on this album is just completely all over the place. But in no place is it more clear than when it comes to this song. Because if it weren't for that, this song would be so much higher on this list. Some of Rivers' best writing is happening here sonically and lyrically. Number 26, Ruling Me. Great production direction for not only this song, but just this album in general. Everything kind of just seems like it's singing along with Rivers. It's pretty well balanced and I love it. And how can you not sing along and get hype whenever the chorus comes around? This is definitely my favorite song on Hurley. Number 25, American Gigolo. What a strong opener. This is one of the most uniquely structured Weezer songs, and it's definitely one of my favorites. If I had to tell you what my favorite part of the song was, it would definitely be the post-chorus. Number 24, Burnt Jam. Beautiful tune, and it definitely deserves to be this high on the list. Though the lyrics are limited, it says what it needs to say. The music speaks for itself. Number 23, Dead Roses. I have to give it to him. This song, in my opinion, contains some of Rivers' coolest lyrics. It feels dark and gothic, and the music swells all the way to the end. If it's not clear, I really like this album. Number 22, Eulogy for a Rock Band. Wow, this song makes my heart swell. I don't care that the lyrics aren't anything special. They're well executed, and the melodic direction for this song is just crazy. Like I said before, there are some moments where the verse and the chorus to a song just like musically shake hands together really well. I can't think of a better example than with this one. Number 21, I Need Some of That. It's just so happy. How can you not love this? Like, it has everything that you want. A good verse and chorus, an awesome bridge and guitar solo. This, to me, is summer incarnate. This is a good song. Number 20, Pink Triangle. I think it's funny because you can hear the song, Do You Want to Get High? Like the DNA for that song in this one. Specifically at the bridge. With the knowledge of the fact that this is a thing that really happened, makes me feel a little bit less weird about the subject matter. Number 19, Oh Girlfriend. All right, I'll say it. This is the best one. This is the album's best song. It's a great bookend to what is overall like a good, inoffensive album. And I'm not gonna lie, when I heard the guitar solo towards the end, I cried. Number 18, The British Are Coming. A really random thing to make a whole song about, but I have to say, undoubtedly, this song contains one of the best guitar solos that Weezer has ever done. Like the way that it kind of just like musically slaps you in the face. It's like Green in the fact that it's based off of the melody that you've heard already, but then it just builds on it in like this crazy way, and some of the notes just like hit so hard. This song also contains one of Rivers' best vocal performances. It feels strange to be ranking this high, but I can't deny it the spot that it deserves. Number 17, Da Vinci. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not. This has to be one of the most complete performances that Weezer has put together so far. It's one of the best extended metaphors that Rivers has ever used. The production knows when to keep things tight and when to let things loose. And there's a good vocal performance. Like, what are you gonna tell me? Huh? Number 16, No Other One. This was one of the first Weezer songs that I ever got stuck on. Even conceptually, like being stuck on someone that you know is not good for you. It's relatable. Like, how can you not get that? Oh, you're mentally well. That makes sense. Number 15, Alu Gobi. Rivers does a good job of exemplifying the mediocrity of everyday life, being at the level that you can't even raise an eyebrow because that would just be too much work. A concept that is already good on its own is elevated by beautiful instrumentation. Number 14, Do You Want to Get High? This song is everything that We Are All on Drugs was trying to be. A grungy anthem with a really cool overdrive thing going on in the background. This song also contains what is arguably Weezer's best bridge. The White Album really feels like it's fighting within itself for what does end up winning the best bridge category, but I don't know. Number 13, Why Bother? I knew whenever I was creating this list that this song would be pretty much right about where it's at right now. So I think I'll kind of talk about the fact that I think production-wise, everything kind of just sits perfectly under, like, I'm not really good at explaining more abstract concepts like that sometimes. But especially with the cymbals, everything is so sparkly. I love it. Number 12, Jacked Up. This is some of Rivers' best writing so far. Just period. It took me years to be able to truly understand what he was trying to say in this song. I think when I first listened to the White Album, I was a little bit too young to understand. But a discussion about having trouble separating love from sex. Why do my flowers always die? Bruh, come on. She came down on a bubble, bro. Number 11, Mirror Image. This is one of the most beautiful things Rivers has ever written.
Bleach is a manga and anime created by a man named Tite Kubo. It's about a teenage boy who, when approached by a supernatural being called a Hollow, is brought into the world of Soul Reapers or Shinigami. The anime adaptation ran from 2004 to 2012 with a revival that came this year in 2022. The story goes to some pretty wild places in the anime. Many anime fans are familiar with the concept of filler, but basically when a manga and an anime are being released concurrently, sometimes the anime needs to insert anime-specific filler in order to keep up with the pace of the manga. Getting past a lot of the filler that occurs in the show, one of the most important arcs and one of the dopest arcs is the Arrancar arc. Arrancar are hollows that have removed their masks that have gained levels of power that are the same as a Soul Reaper. This in combination with an item called the Hogyoku. I'm realizing how crazy this probably sounds, especially for people who haven't seen the series. But yes, this is definitely one of, if not the best arc in the entire show. And coincidentally, it contains some of the most hype openings from the show too, openings 5 through 9. And there are some others that kind of cut through the middle of the arc. There's a lot of random filler stuff that happens in this show, but specifically, openings 5 through 9 are some of the best bangers in the entire show. In the anime space, one of the most popular bands that creates openings for the shows is a band called Asian Kung Fu Generation, who did one of the best openings in the entire show called After Dark. Absolute banger. Strangely enough, when researching this video, I found out one of the strangest things. The band did a cover of one of my top 10 favorite Weezer songs. I just threw out The Love of My Dreams. Sorry, that's a little bit of a spoiler. I saw this and I was immediately like, what is going on here? And after some admittedly minimal additional research, I learned that Rivers actually did some collaborating with the band. He has writing credits on the songs Clockwork and Dancing Girl. So I was like, let me see if there's any Weezer DNA in these songs. And it's immediately apparent because what is the first verse on the song Dancing Girl would eventually become it's actually not too uncommon for Rivers to do this, repurposing some parts of songs for other parts of songs. You can see an example of it in a short that I made to help promote this video. You should check it out. Actually, you should check it out in a second, because it's time for
Number 10, Friend of a Friend. It's hard to get better than this, because sonically, this has everything I could ever want. If I was on the cutting room floor when this album was being created, and I got to choose between Friend of a Friend and Thank God for Girls, any day would choose this one. I find myself being enamored by the line, I'm just a friend of a friend, and I'd like to be all over you. Sometimes it's hard to know what I should do. It speaks to the overall nature of like this kind of relationship. Sometimes when you're infatuated with someone, it feels like it's kind of hard to control yourself. But you should. Number 9, Girl We Got a Good Thing. Firing on all cylinders. Perfect marriage of the Beach Boys and Weezer, which is, what the White Album was going for. The guitar solo is a work of art, and the tambourine chugging along in the background. You can't listen to the song and not smile. Number 8, I Just Threw Out the Love of My Dreams. A Weezer song? Headed up by a woman? These days, going back and listening to Pinkerton, this is the song that I listen to the most often. I love the fact that the verses and the chorus are all based off of the upbeat of 4 instead of 1. It doesn't feel like fumbling, it feels like emphasis. And the payoff is pretty immediate because you start off the song emphasizing the I's and then move on to emphasizing the he's. Working together, it all creates this very big emphasis on the characters that this song is trying to talk about. It's great writing. Rivers is really using that degree. Number 7, Say It Ain't So. The grungy nature of this song just really helps to further exemplify like Rivers' deep struggle with his stepfather. This is a masterful example of storytelling, and Say It Ain't So does a great job of really letting us into the struggles that Rivers deals with. Okay, actually, I should probably explain this. I just don't listen to this song super often, but I can acknowledge that it's a masterpiece. Fair. Number 6, Buddy Holly. This, in my opinion, is one of the most fun Weezer songs in existence. Such a fun little ride. You can't deny the power that this song has. Number 5, Endless Bummer. By far, the song that I come back to most often off of this album. She was too fast for me. I count my steps because I'm OCD. Like, he can't keep up because he's overthinking every single aspect of his action. Even the line about him attempting not to pleasure himself is done in this like haunting and poetic way. I put my jacket over my head. I'm trying not to stare at her chest. I can't even dance in the dark because my headphones are still on the seat of her car. Despite the beauty of a lot of the lines that are in this song, I find myself strangely being attached to the end. Number 4, The Greatest Man Who Ever Lived. This is a masterpiece. While I don't think the song is perfect lyrically, you can't deny that this is one of the most creative songs that the band has ever done. For the longest time, this was my favorite Weezer song. It's just so good, and it got better when I realized that not only is it just like a hymn and variation thing, it's also a tribute to a lot of bands that Rivers is a fan of. It makes the song way more interesting, and even though it's off of an album that admittedly I am very clearly not a big fan of, I have to admit that this is one of the band's best pieces of work. Number 3, Longtime Sunshine. This is an example of when you leave something really raw and it works. What a beautiful song about just wishing for a more simple life. At the end, he says, somebody's given me a whole lot of money to do what I think I want to, so why am I still feeling blue? No matter how much you run from your problems or run towards what you want, it's never gonna fill that void. Number 2, The Good Life. I really didn't get this song the first time I listened to it. Now, I understand that the whole song is a metaphor about how Rivers can't handle fame. I was already around a 4.75 sonically for this one, but then the guitar solo came around and I was like, damn, this is perfect. And finally, number 1, Butterfly. This song is about an asshole who returns to say that he's sorry. It's a beautiful piece of work, and it's definitely my favorite Weezer song. It's funny because it's extremely appropriate too for an album that is filled with songs talking about how much of an asshole he is. This song gives a candid look through the lens of a man who is deeply flawed. Just like all of us.
That's a wrap.
Bing bong.
Okay, as I noted at the beginning of the video, I had a list of my preconceived rankings of every single album. Let's see if my rankings were anywhere close to accurate. Here's my preconceived list. And here are the albums ranked with their final scores. Things kind of shook out the way that I expected them to. Some additional thoughts about this system that I used. I don't think in the future I would give the production category as much weight as I did. And there are some songs in retrospect that I feel like needed to be ranked higher. Trippin' Down the Freeway needs to be ranked higher. Tragic Girl needs to be wanked. Tragic Girl needs to be ranked so much higher. I might have overranked Girl We Got a Good Thing, and I definitely underranked Hash Pipe. I don't think it needed to be that low on the list. That was a little bit of a travesty. I learned a lot about myself throughout this experience. You know how anytime you feel like you're struggling in life, you fall back on your comfort things, right? Going back and watching a childhood TV show, rewatching Friends, New Girl, How I Met Your Mother, Over the Garden Wall, Gravity Falls, Steven Universe, rewatching your high school marching band performances. These things provide us with a marginal amount of comfort in times where we feel like we don't understand the world anymore. They provide you with some semblance, some amount of safety. And for me, Weezer is my comfort thing. I'm not gonna lie, this video took me to some places. I remember I found myself in a really tough spot in December of 2016. And that was the first time I ever truly sunk my teeth into Pinkerton. And now the band is a safe haven for me whenever I feel like I need something to fall back on. This was just an overall really fulfilling experience for me, even though this is a band that contains lyrics as silly as it's Weezer and it's Wheezy. They're such a silly band, but I can't help myself. If you made it through the entire video, congratulations, and thank you for watching. If you're new to the channel, please leave a comment on my final rankings or just general comments that you feel about the video. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode of Things I Thought Of, Musical Memories, or whatever else is going to happen on the channel. This was a lot of work to put together, and it's honestly just what I needed. It was quite the journey, but I'm glad it's a thing that I thought of.